Hey guys, so I did my theory presentation on Mary Daly. So just an overview of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about just her life and stuff and her inspirations for her work, some key terms that she defined, and her conclusions about religion in general. And I'm also going to go over some critiques of her theories by me and other people. So, who is Mary Daly? Mary Daly was born on October 16th of 1928, and she died on January 3rd in 2010 at the ripe old age of 81. She was an American radical feminist philosopher, as well as an academic, an ethicist, and a theologian. She described herself as a radical lesbian feminist. And also, just a fun fact, she was very openly lesbian at a time where it wasn't as accepted. So she did some stuff for that too. She taught at Boston College for 33 years, where she actually ended up eventually agreeing to retire after violating university policy by refusing to admit male students into her advanced women's studies classes. Men were allowed to take the introductory classes, but not her advanced ones. Daly maintained that she wanted to create a safe space for women to speak openly and freely. And if a man at the college wanted to learn more past the introductory level classes, she offered private tutoring to them, but she would not accept them into the classes. In 1998, a male student, I've seen it was one student and I've seen it was two on a couple different things, but a male student backed by a conservative political organization sued the college after Daly refused to admit him into one of her classes. So Boston College dismissed her and revoked her tenure, which obviously sparked a huge legal battle. And she eventually agreed to retire. However, she maintains that it was forced upon her by the college. She was born in a Catholic family, and the religion that she followed is, she calls it post-Christian, which is her own version of Christianity. And then also that picture, there's a picture of her for you guys. Her early life, she was born in Schenectady, New York, and she was educated in mostly Catholic schools most of her life. So she had a lot of knowledge about Catholicism, like before pursuing her various degrees that I'm going to talk about later. After writing her first book, The Church and the Second Sex, she renounced Catholicism and created her own religion, proclaiming herself as post-Christian. And here's another picture of her. I believe this is her teaching at Boston College, but I'm not quite sure. It looks like she's teaching. Her education. So she has a Bachelor's of Arts in English from the College of St. Rose. She has a Master's of Arts in English from the Catholic University of America. So another Catholic school. She got her first doctorate in religion from St. Mary's College. And her last two degrees, the doctorates in sacred theology and philosophy, she actually had to leave America to go to the University of Freiburg, Switzerland, because at the time there was nowhere in the United States that would admit her to a doctorate program in theology because of her sex, because she was a woman. But yeah, she has a lot of degrees, so she's obviously well educated. But that's another picture of her. The influences. So obviously her Catholic upbringing had a lot to do with why she chose to study this subject and relate feminism to religion. And another one of her big inspirations was Paul Tillich, who's in this photo here on the left. he was a German American theologian and philosopher, and his theories were pretty much all based on Christianity. And uh, he kind of inspired her second book, which is called Beyond God the Father. And finally, Simone de Beauvoir, who first gave Daly the idea that Christianity has always sought to oppress and deceive women. So probably the combination of the two of them was really her whole thing. Some key terms from her writings: androcentric, which is centered around male interests. This is how she described Catholicism and Christianity. Patriarchy is a system of male-centered rule, a society where men and male values are given priority. And she also said that the Catholic religion just contributed to this system. And then another thing she talked about that I thought was really interesting was phallic morality, which is morality that glorifies characteristics demanded from the oppressed, which in this case, she says, is women, such as selflessness and humility. And then some of her conclusions about religion. She said that the concept of a belief in a male deity leads to profound gender inequalities, and that religion is a basic element of patriarchy. She also said that women's participation in religious practices and beliefs is basically them participating in their own oppression and exploitation. And she stated that all notions of God are produced by men for these purposes. And the only place given to women is as silent participants. And then on the bottom here, I have a quote from her where she said that we must castrate the maleness from our conceptualization of God. So she really wanted to demasculinize religion and Christianity. And basically, she had this whole idea of a being that isn't masculine, that's was in her religion that she followed. So some of the critiques, she herself has been critiqued for being racist and transphobic. The transphobic one I know comes from a writing with one of her students where they basically said that being transgender was all about men wanting to be women, which obviously we know is not true. And she said that surgery could make an individual more feminine, but they cannot create a woman. So that's problematic. And then a lot of her theories are about Catholicism and Christianity, so they may be difficult to apply to other religions, and kind of like most of her theories really focus on the one male all-powerful God. So it might be hard to analyze multiple gods like in what we're doing in the ancient Greek and Roman religions. She's also criticized as being essentialist, which, as we talked about earlier in class, essentialism is basically stating that certain things, so in this case, men and women, have a certain set of characteristics that make them what they are, and each having an underlying essence that makes them what they are. So this obviously can lead to drawing false conclusions without investigating other contributing factors. And then here I have a quote from her where she says, I'll read it to you. I had explained that a woman's asking for equality in the church would be comparable to a Black person demanding equality in the Ku Klux Klan, which I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, she overall was very well educated, and she was a radical feminist philosopher. She believed that Catholicism really was just designed to oppress women. She thought it was an element of the patriarchy and it needs to be changed to stop this constant oppression of women. She's critiqued as essentialist, and many of her theories only apply to Catholicism and Christianity, or she only really made them based around that. She never, that I could really find, analyzed other religions in any way. So yeah, and then I'm gonna submit 2 readings with this. One of them is a chapter from Beyond God the Father, one of her books, and the other, I think, is chapter 1 from that book. And then the other article is just about, like, somebody wrote about her career and some of her critiques and some of her beliefs that I thought might be helpful for you guys if you choose to do her for your essay. So yeah, and then here is my bibliography. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope that this helps you guys.